Okay. Um, Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and the governor's March 23rd, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Yarmouth Community and Economic Development Committee meeting is being conducted via remote participation. All votes during this meeting will need to be conducted by roll call. No in-person attendance will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access and participate in the proceedings as provided for in the order. Public participation will be permitted by allowing members of the public to join this meeting via Zoom. And I see we have some members of the public here tonight, which is awesome. And so obviously people haven't had a problem accessing the meeting, which is good. Looks like we don't have a quorum here tonight for the CEDC, but as I said earlier, it doesn't matter because they're not going to be voting on anything. This is more of just a public information session for all the audience members here tonight. So how it works is I'm just going to go through kind of a brief presentation. The presentation will be on our website afterwards, so don't worry about taking down every single note or anything. I'm also going to put up this video is going to be on YouTube, so you can rewatch it all on YouTube if you want. So I'm just going to go through the presentation, and then afterwards, if you have any questions, we can go through a little bit of a question and answer period. So let us start.
Kyle, can I ask a question first?
Sure.
And for everyone's benefit, I'm George Barton with the Yarmouth Red Sox. This is our first time dialing into something like this. So do I understand that you're having a meeting with the committee and you've invited the public that want to listen to this?
So this here tonight, it's a meeting of the CEDC. I had to post it to comply with open meeting law in case the members met in a quorum and had any sort of deliberation. But the real intention is just for you guys. This is just educational for you guys. If you have any questions, to ask them now. And I think you guys know, as I sent the email, the process, and we'll go through this all, but the process will be that the applications are open right now. The deadline is, I believe it's December 1st. And then once all the applications are received, well, we're kind of getting ahead of the presentation. So why don't I just go through the presentation right now?
Thank you.
So the 2021 Tourism Grant Program, can everyone see my screen okay?
Yes.
Yep.
All right. It's being offered again as it's been offered in previous years. This year, $122,500 are available. Last year was $100,000. So the committee was able to return some of the funds for some of the canceled events last year and added it into the funding for this year's special events program. So as such, there's a little bit more funding. Typically, the committee does not allocate any money additional beyond that amount. So $122,500 is typically the final amount. Also, they're not, there's no requirement that they have to spend that full amount. It's available up to $122,500. The grant funds are on a reimbursement basis. So you'd have to, I think there's some reimbursement guidelines I can send out if I haven't already to you guys. That kind of goes through the process of submitting reimbursement claims. It's important to note that if you get a grant from the town, it's town policy that you then will not get any fee waivers from the town if you're a grant recipient. And the CEDC may impose conditions on grant funding, with an example being like they might give you $5,000, but say you need to use this $5,000 on marketing in this certain area. That would be an example of a past condition. And the biggest change between this year's program and previous years is there's not going to be any leniency on late or incomplete applications. So if your application is late or incomplete after the deadline, it's just not going to be accepted or considered. You're certainly welcome to check with me before the deadline to make sure that your application is complete, and check with me to see if there's anything else that you're missing. But you would need to do that before the application deadline. It's very important to have a full and complete application. So as I said, the application deadline is December 1st at 4 p.m. and it's due electronically to me via email. So I just need one electronic copy. In past years, we've asked for a whole bunch of hard copies, but seeing as the committee will be reviewing these in a virtual format, that doesn't make any sense. So we really just need one electronic copy, and I'll then forward it to all the committee members for their review. So we need a application summary form, which is attachment C, a marketing plan, which is attachment D, a budget, which is attachment E, and it's important that your marketing plan and budget are consistent. So whatever your marketing cost figure in your marketing plan should be the same as your marketing costs in your budget plan. So it all should tie together and make sense to the committee when they're reading through it. And it's very important that you address all the questions in the narrative as well. And then we need, if you have these, some can sometimes be a little bit more difficult to get. These we would need the tax documentation we would need before any grant contract is signed. So if you can't get this documentation to us by the December 1st date, it's not that big of a deal. It is, whereas opposed to if you can't get us something in the first section, that would be a big deal. Go back to that late incomplete applications being not considered aspect. But if you need some leniency, another couple weeks to get me one of these, because you have to wait from the Office of Attorney General to get back to you or whatever, just let me know and we can work with you on that. We've also this year, because it can be a little confusing to make sure that you have all the components, to make it a little easier for everybody, we included an application checklist on the website. So you can make sure as you go through that you're checking off that you have everything that is required as a part of the application. This is what the attachment C looks like, the summary form. I also want to note these are all available via fillable PDFs on the website, so it should be pretty easy to download them and fill them out. Might just be a little bit difficult signing them, but there is, if you know how to do digital signatures, there is a way to do it that way. The marketing plan for returning applicants is a little bit different this year. Attachment D, the Chamber of Commerce supplied a template. Again, it's a fillable PDF. So for returning applicants, attachment D will look a little different than it has in years past, just to help the committee evaluate your marketing plan a little bit better. This would be the budget form. Again, it's important that your budget form is consistent with your marketing plan. The narrative needs to hit on all these aspects. You know, the narrative doesn't need to be a super long, drawn out 5-page document. It just needs to address all of these components, you know, in a clear and concise manner, basically. If you have any questions on specifically what these things, if you need some more information on what we're looking for on these sections, feel free to reach out to me. And again, like I'm kind of going through this quick, but all of this stuff I'm going to put on the website and I'll send out to everybody on that list. This is kind of a slide just to help, not if you're a for-profit entity, there's less nonprofit documentation that we need. So this slide is kind of helpful to figure out exactly what we'd be looking for in terms of the tax documentation from you, in terms of what you'd be classified as. And to go back to what I was saying in the beginning, so the application process would be that you would need a full and complete application to me electronically by December 1st. We would then schedule a time. I will, distribute all the applications to the committee members for their review. If the committee has questions about your proposal, we will schedule a time for a public interview to take place at one of the CEDC meetings. The dates would be, and we'd work with you to make sure the date would work for you, obviously. The date would either be December 3rd or December 10th, and maybe December 17th. If we need a third meeting, we probably won't, but that's there in case we do need it. I see Mr. Clark's from the Taylor Bray Farm. For someone like Taylor Bray Farm, the committee is, very, very aware, unless there's a big change in your proposal from previous years. The committee is usually very aware of what the Taylor Bray Farm is proposing. So in that instance, we wouldn't necessarily require an interview because they probably won't need additional information. But if you would like to come in and have an interview, you'd be more than welcome to. But it just wouldn't be a requirement because these are more so for the committee just to get some more information on your proposals to understand it better. And then after the interviews take place, the committee usually on that, the night of the last interview date, the committee will vote that very night, or sometimes they'll call a meeting a couple of days later so they can digest everything that they've talked about, and then they'll make their awards at a public meeting. So awards are announced by Christmas usually, certainly by the first of the year. And applications are reviewed, in a manner. They're kind of graded. It's not, I don't want to say it's formulaic the way it's reviewed. It is a bit subjective, what the committee members think is going to provide the most. Basically, what we're looking for are events that are going to boost the Yarmouth tourism industry and provide value to the Yarmouth residents. So that's essentially what you're graded on. I believe there's some language in our request for proposals that speaks exactly to that. But that's what the applications are reviewed for. If you are awarded a grant, there are certain marketing and branding requirements that you would need to fulfill. We would give you a survey tool. You would need to survey a minimum of 5% of event attendees. Basically, the point of this is to show the impact of your event, to show that it did, boost local tourism or make Yarmouth residents' lives better. We're trying to measure that impact, basically. You would need to submit photos and video to us as a part of your final report. And I don't know, did I talk about final reports? Are due after your event. Just to summarize basically how everything went, there's a certain amount of questions that you have to address. And we would need that final report as well in order to give you the rest of your grant funds. And branding as well is important. There's a Town of Yarmouth Cape Cod Within Reach logo that if you're awarded a grant, you would need to use that logo in your marketing materials just to show that you'd be sponsored in part by this grant program. Some COVID considerations is that event proposals must be consistent with Massachusetts COVID regulations. If the event takes place during the ongoing COVID state of emergency, unfortunately, I don't see any end in sight for this COVID state of emergency. So, make sure that your event proposals are consistent with, it is a bit difficult because the regulations are changing. They change monthly. Just make sure they're consistent with what is current now. And I would say give some consideration to if things get stricter, if public gatherings are scaled back, do you have a plan for that? Would you amend your event in such a way? Would you cancel it? I think that would be something that the committee members would be very interested in. And important to note that this unfortunately happened last year. If your event just gets canceled due to COVID, no grant funds will be distributed. So up to 25% of the total grant award may be reimbursed for services on or before the day of the event. For somebody like the YD Red Sox, you guys don't have it's not a one-day event thing. So it's a little bit different, but we have, the committee has awarded grants to the Cultural Center of Cape Cod in the past, and they run a year-long event thing.
Right.
They run year-long events as well. So I guess the day of the event is not don't worry that you don't have one day for the event, I guess is what I'm getting at. So marketing costs are reimbursable. You'd have to give us invoices and proof of payment in order to get your reimbursement. And final payment is contingent upon receipt of the final report and surveys, which I previously mentioned. So this again, we would need, after everything's done, we need surveys. We would already have your nonprofit status documentation. We would need a final report with photos. A statement of work form is basically a reimbursement request. So I can provide you that too when the time comes. And we basically would just need to see, now during the application process, you're submitting an estimated expense report. When it comes time to do your final report, we want to see what were the actual expenses compared to what you were planning. And final payment needs to be no later than 6 months after the event occurs. So again, some important dates. Application deadline is the 1st. We'll likely have interviews on the 3rd and the 10th, and awards will probably happen, shortly thereafter that. We have a website where all these materials live, and I'll certainly put this PowerPoint on this website, right after this, and I'll send it out as well. So yeah, I mean, that's our presentation. It's a pretty straightforward process. I see Peter is joining again. But I don't know, Steve or Mary, I don't know if you had anything to add.
No, I think you covered the waterfront there. Creativity is certainly something that we're looking for. And also, as Kyle pointed out, just to reiterate, be specific and pointed in your comments about what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, and how it's going to benefit the town. And not that any of you would do this, but this is something that we as committee members invest a lot of our time with. And so we want to see good, sound proposals that are submitted.
And Joanne, I see you just arrived. Sorry that we missed you on the presentation, but I don't know if you have anything to add. We just went through the presentation, and we're about to take questions.
No, I'm good.
All right, with that, I'll open it up if anybody has any questions. Yes, Mr. Barton?
First and foremost, thank you very much for this. In the documentation, you talk about emailing in PDF format. Is that going to include the narrative where we've addressed the questions, as well as our full marketing plan, which are currently in Word?
Yeah, whatever. If you give me that in Word, that's totally fine. I can make that into whatever is easiest to get it to me via email. Whatever form is easiest for you is perfectly fine.
Okay. Well, I've pulled all the forms off of the website, and those, as you say, are fillable PDFs, so I'm good there. But obviously, we've got a very robust marketing plan as well as the narrative, and I just want to make sure I get all that to you. And I'm probably going to send it to you next week.
All right, sounds good.
Because I have everything finished, including the forms. Last question.
Yep.
The committee does not know the Red Sox, other than possibly knowing the franchise here in Yarmouth. Would it be appropriate for us to request an interview session with the committee, just so we can address any questions?
Yeah.
But maybe elaborate a bit on why we're joining this for the first year, what some of the vision is, and some of what we've submitted?
Yeah, for your event, for a first time event, it would definitely they would definitely want to have you come in for an interview to get more.
Okay, yeah, I'm good. I wrote down those dates. We'll be prepared to do that.
All right, perfect.
Thank you.
Yes, Mary?
Hey, everyone. Sorry, I was listening in on the other meeting that I think is still going on, but I was trying to tune into both meetings here. And Kyle, I thought I heard you mention, I just wanted to clarify this, and maybe I misheard. If someone applies for an event and it gets canceled for COVID, and they have already incurred an expense because of that, because we have an example with Pawpalooza for last year, that they prepaid some marketing.
Yeah.
Then when it was canceled, they're now holding that debt.
Yeah, that's correct. Unfortunately, that's correct. The town cannot pay for a service that wasn't rendered.
So what I would like to suggest to those that are applying, that maybe have a clause in anyone that you're
Right.
signing a contract with for advanced marketing, that there's some kind of a disclosure that there's either a refund or it can be used in the future.
Very good suggestion.
Right.
Because that can be a tough hit, and that was a tough hit for Pawpalooza.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Thanks for that, Mary. Mr. Clark, did you have any questions?
No, I think it's a lot similar to years past, and the difference is won't use as much ink making copies.
Yep.
But some documents I don't know if I have electronically unless I have to recreate them again. Would a scanned document work as well for you?
Yeah, certainly. And if you don't have a scanner and you only have hard copies,
I got the
if you
scan.
want to bring it in the hard copy, I can scan it. Like, this is designed, I'm trying to make it as easy as possible for you guys. So whatever is easiest for you, it works for me.
Great, Kyle. Thank you.
Good, very good.
Anyone else? Well, like I said, I'm going to be putting up the PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to be sending it out, and I'll also get this video up probably too on the tourism grant page as well. So you can rewatch it if you need to. But with that, I think if we don't have any more questions, I think we're pretty much all set.
Thanks, everyone, and for all the committee members. Thanks for being here and for what you do for us.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
interest in the program.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good job, Kyle.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Peter,